Everyone in the room held their breath as the dying dog wrapped his paws around his owner's neck in one final embrace. Tears streamed down faces. Everyone braced for the end until the vet looked closer. Then she gasped and shouted, "Stop!" What she discovered in that moment turned a heartbreak into a miracle no one ever expected. The small room was so quiet you could hear the faint hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. A single blanket was spread across the cold metal table, and on it lay Cooper, my once strong retriever mix, whose fur was now patchy and dull. His chest rose and fell in shallow, ragged breaths, each one sounding more labored than the last. I sat hunched beside him, my hand gently stroking his ears. Tears clung to my lashes, blurring the outline of the animal I'd raised from a stray. "You've been the best friend I ever had," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I'm so sorry it has to be like this." Cooper's eyes flickered open at the sound, cloudy, but still searching for the voice he loved. Slowly, as though it took all the strength left in his frail body, he lifted his head and nudged my wrist. The touch nearly undid me. A sob broke free from my chest, and I leaned forward until my forehead rested against Cooper's. Behind us, the vet and a veterinary nurse stood silently, giving us space to say goodbye. The nurse discreetly wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She'd seen this moment so many times, but it never got easier. Then, with a tremor in his limbs, Cooper did something no one expected. He lifted one paw, then the other, and carefully wrapped them around my neck. In that final embrace, it was as if he was saying, "Thank you for everything." My shoulders shook as I clung to Cooper's thinning frame, my tears soaked into the coarse fur at his neck. "I love you," I whispered over and over, the words breaking each time they left my lips. I had prepared myself for this day, rehearsed what I would say, but nothing could have softened the ache of knowing it was the last time I'd feel that warmth. Cooper's breathing hitched, his sides rising in uneven jerks. Even so, he kept his paws hooked around my neck, refusing to let go. The vet stepped closer, her expression gentle but resolute. She held the small syringe in her hand, the liquid inside shimmering beneath the fluorescent lights. "I'm ready when you are," she murmured, her voice hushed, as if louder words might shatter the fragile moment. I lifted my head just enough to look into Cooper's tired eyes. "You can rest now," I choked out, my palm resting over the dog's fluttering heart. "You were so brave, so good." Cooper let out a still whine, almost a sigh. His tail moved once in a slow, weak arc across the blanket. The nurse stepped forward and placed a comforting hand on my shoulder, trying to steady me. Just as the vet positioned the needle near Cooper's leg, she paused. A small crease formed between her brows. She leaned down, studying the dog's chest as if she'd heard something that didn't belong. For a moment, the entire room felt like it was holding its breath. The vet's frown deepened as she carefully set the syringe back on the metal tray. She pressed her stethoscope against Cooper's ribs, her eyes fixed on the second hand of the wall clock as she listened. The nurse looked at her, puzzled. "Is something wrong?" she whispered, almost afraid to interrupt. I wiped my face with the back of my sleeve, confusion tightening my features. "What is it? What's happening?" My voice cracked, raw from crying. "Hold on," the vet murmured, adjusting the stethoscope. She closed her eyes, concentrating. The faint, irregular beat she'd expected in a dying dog wasn't there. Instead, she heard something different. an uneven but persistent rhythm that sounded less like a failing heart and more like a system fighting to stay alive. Cooper let out a slow exhale, his body sagging into the blanket, but his heartbeat thumped on. Determined, the vet gently lifted at his lip, checking the color of his gums. They were pale, but not the grayish tone of imminent death. She turned to the nurse. "Get me a thermometer and pull up his file again," she instructed quickly. "I want to check his temperature and review the blood work." My eyes darted from her to Cooper, hope warring with disbelief. "I don't understand. You said he was dying." The vet met my gaze squarely. "I thought he was," she admitted, her voice steady. "But something isn't adding up. Before we do anything, we need to be absolutely sure." The nurse moved fast, retrieving the thermometer and unlocking the computer at the counter. The vet slid the device under Cooper's front leg, counting silently while she watched the display. When it beeped, she read the number twice to be sure. "His temperature is too low," she said under her breath, "not because of organ failure, but possibly because of severe infection." She turned to me, her eyes sharp with urgency. "When did you first notice he was sick?" I swallowed hard, trying to think past the fog of panic. "A few days ago, he stopped eating, was really tired. They thought it was just old age." My voice cracked again. "He's been through so much. I didn't want to make him suffer." The vet laid a reassuring hand on my arm. "You did the right thing bringing him in, but this doesn't look like simple aging. If this is an infection or poisoning, we may be able to treat it." Cooper shifted slightly, a faint whimper rumbling in his throat. It was as if he knew he still had a chance. The vet gestured to the nurse. "Set up IV fluids and broad-spectrum antibiotics. We don't have time to wait for new labs." My chest tightened with sudden wild hope. "So he might survive?" The vet nodded firmly. "If we act quickly, yes." She turned back to Cooper, her voice gentle but resolute. "Hang in there, old boy. We're not giving up on you yet." I sat on a narrow bench just outside the treatment room, my hands clasped so tightly my knuckles were white. Every few minutes I looked up when I thought I heard footsteps, hoping someone would come tell me it was over. One way or the other, hours slipped by, marked only by the quiet tick of the wall clock and the hum of machines. I pressed my palm over my eyes, trying to block out the memory of Cooper wrapping those frail paws around my neck. I had thought that was our last moment. Now, I didn't know what to think. Sometime past midnight, the vet stepped out. Fatigue etched into her features. She sank onto the bench beside me. "He's stable," she said softly, "but the next few hours are critical. If he responds to the antibiotics, he has a real chance." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. My voice came out as a whisper. "Thank you for not giving up." The vet's tired smile was genuine. "He wasn't ready to say goodbye, and neither were you." I nodded, wiping my eyes. "I'm staying right here until he wakes up." I sat slumped against the wall, exhaustion tugging at me, but I couldn't close my eyes. Every time I blinked, I saw Cooper's face, the way those paws had wrapped around my neck like a final goodbye. A soft creak broke the silence. I lifted my head, heart leaping when I saw the vet standing in the doorway, her expression transformed. She looked tired, but she was smiling. "You should come in," she said gently. "He's awake." My legs trembled as I rose. I gripped the door frame for balance before stepping into the treatment room. Cooper lay on a fresh blanket, the IV still taped in place. His eyes were open, warm brown and clear, and when he saw me, his tail thumped the table in a slow, tired wag. "Hey, buddy," I whispered, voice breaking. I reached out, resting my palm against Cooper's cheek. The dog pressed into the touch, letting out a soft, relieved sigh. "He's not out of the woods," the vet cautioned, "but he's fighting, and that's more than we could have hoped for last night." I nodded, tears blurring everything again. I leaned close until my forehead touched Cooper's. "You weren't ready to go," I whispered. "I should have known." Cooper shifted and with great effort lifted one paw to rest against my arm. It wasn't goodbye, it was a promise. The silence in my house now is different. It's not the heavy, suffocating quiet of a fortress, nor the empty void of loss. It's filled with the soft snores of an old dog, the gentle tap of his tail on the floorboards, the quiet rhythm of a life that almost ended, but was given a miraculous second chance. Cooper is still my silent guardian, but now he's also a living testament to hope, to not giving up, and to the unexpected miracles that can turn heartbreak into a new beginning. And that, I realize, is a comfort that will last a lifetime. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. Join us for more true stories that prove kindness can change.